Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I am Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right over there, that would be John, our resident millennial, and then right down there, that's Ed, our resident Ed.
Ed.
Yeah, he's the resident Ed. Also,
In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he might be the only Ed we've ever had on the show. Trying to think, I don't think we've had another Ed.
That happens sometimes.
We're not
It's
very
a fairly
diverse with our
uncommon
names.
name. That's why I switched to it, because you guys know my first name, and that's a little bit more common, but
Yeah, it's
wait,
true.
I don't know that I remember your first name.
it's not important. I don't use it
It's
anyway.
Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat is his first name.
I
Extremely
always
common.
thought that name sounded really insulting.
Right?
Right? Doesn't it
Jehoshaphat.
just have an insulting sound to it, like you're saying something mean to some Jehoshaphat? I am
Yeah.
not.
Your
God,
hoe is so fat.
right? It's like I am not. God, I'm gonna tell mom stop saying that.
Yo ho is so
Right.
fat. I'm not ghetto enough to say that joke. I'm sorry.
Yo ho is so fat. How fat is she? Yo ho
Wait,
is so
I
fat.
don't think I've heard this one. Please continue, John.
Fuck. Not to actually come up with a joke. God damn it.
That's on you,
Not
John,
sure I
because I'm
can.
not ghetto enough. You're from the inner city.
Let's
You're
see.
from the inner city of what? Charleston?
Charleston? Yeah.
Well, I was
Have you
going to say
ever been there?
Orlando, but I've seen where you used to live.
Where I used to live, yeah, it's pretty ghetto. I don't live there anymore though.
Are you?
I live in the fucking country.
You're not talking about when you stayed at my house, right?
No.
I've seen that too,
I'm not talking
actually,
about
but
that.
that's
Yeah.
not important.
It's a little slightly less ghetto than where I
Then
was.
oh
Yeah, where I was before that? Oh my god.
yeah. Well, that's your own fault, though.
I mean, yeah, but I had a good deal, so
Hey,
I'm
he's a
fine with it.
millennial. He can't take blame anyway.
With people
That's
like
right.
you in the
Damn it.
neighborhood, you got to expect the neighborhood's going to go to shit.
That's true.
Hold on, I gotta get into your Discord here because we gotta be promoting this shit.
Oh
I don't
Uh,
even know if anybody's talking on this right now
on what? There's talk.
on your channel.
Um, yeah. Well, if
I gotta get in there and talk shit with these fuckers.
nobody said anything yet.
Yeah,
Not
they
even
don't like
Henry
us right
saying
now.
he's first. What the shit?
No. Is he there? Is
I
he?
don't know.
Is he watching? I don't know. Hey, something happened today. I don't know if you guys
Here, I'll do
were.
this.
Did you guys know anything about that? The happening today?
No, it
Well,
didn't
before we
happen.
do-
It didn't happen. Remember?
It didn't happen.
That's right.
It
Yep, did
occurred.
not
Wrong
happen.
skin color.
Yep. Wrong political ideology as
Yep,
well.
that too. Religion of peace. Totally nothing to do with the religion of peace.
That's right.
Um,
But Ed, before we get started too far into this, Ed, you have something coming up, don't you? That we're all going
oh,
to be
he
a part of?
does, doesn't he? Yes.
Yes.
Uh,
Let us let him
do
announce
I have-
that.
Do I have something coming up? Well, I think I'm gonna do a Saturday stream tomorrow. Does that count? Maybe do a little bit of
No.
contemporary on Monday or the Red Net Show on Monday. Is that what you're talking about?
Something a little longer.
Not what I'm talking
Maybe
about.
something a
Something a
little
little bit-
longer and harder coming up.
Yeah, I do. Coming up here on Saturday the 17th, which I've got to get you guys scheduled in for your appearance because you both agreed to do so. I will
shit.
be
Was I
hosting a 24-hour live stream for suicide prevention, and we have got a ton of guests coming on here. Silly me, I paired up with somebody who is actually good with marketing, so now we've got all kinds of guests, and we actually might get some of our goals for charity. We will be donating to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I will be talking at some point throughout the day with the original director for that charity, which I'm looking forward to. We'll be seeing where some of the money is going to go, and all kinds of other people discussing some of their issues with some of the things they've dealt with people who have either been depressed or people they know who may have taken their lives or anything else like that. We've possibly got a debate coming up here. Harvey McLeod wants to debate somebody on tipping, which I think is an interesting topic.
Ooh, what side is she taking?
I don't know yet. I can ask.
Oh, because I'll
Oh,
say I mean,
I
I'll do the other side.
I
I don't know
guess-
which one it is, but I'll yeah, I'll debate the other side. I don't care.
We've got some music coming up here too. Looks like Mr. Behavior's going to come in. Steven is going to do the same deal he did before, where if we get to a certain amount, he'll write a song on the spot that day. So a lot of good things, a lot of cool things that are going to be happening that day. I'm pretty excited for it. And I know, John, you agreed that if we got to 1250, you would lop the beard, which
Did I say 1250?
You did say 1250. You've moved it up again.
I did.
You're not moving it up a third time.
John, do you keep moving the
We'll see.
goalpost?
He does.
I do. Literally moving the goalpost.
Because you're getting scared?
Literally.
What, are you scared?
Yeah, I don't want it to be too easy.
Well, Elaine is so confident we can get there. She also set the price up, and it's only going this high because I'll be robbing from one charity to get to another at 2,500. The hair goes away, and then I start over.
Yeah. Wow. Now, does it go away? Do you shaving completely?
No, I'm actually going to get I'm in this political climate. Are you fucking nuts? They'll be hanging neo-nuts on me so fucking fast that you won't know what hit them. No, it'll go back to clean cut, but then I'll start growing again.
Aww.
I really did want to give to that charity, so I mean, I do hope that we get to the charity that we want to, but I also do want to donate to well, not for Locks for Love. I guess they sell those wigs, and I don't like that. I'll see if I can find somebody else who does it for no cost to the people receiving. But yeah, that's where we're sitting at that for that. Looks like $500 for a song, $12.50 for a shaved John, and $2,500 for a clean cut J. Edgar.
No, hang on. You're not going to get a shaved John. All right, just the beard. Everything else is staying. This is the way it was. All right, just the beard.
Now, Ed, whenever
that sounds like it'll be fun.
Is everything coming off? Like you're shaving the beard and the mustache as well?
That was not a part of the original agreement, but we kind of did a backroom deal, me and Elaine, and she said, yeah. So yeah, if it's there, then yeah, I'll go clean there too.
Fair enough.
I might even shave my nads.
See, now I want you two to understand something. This is the beauty of remaining clean-shaved and well-groomed, tight, shorn, etc.
Or you wouldn't do anything
because
anyway.
these things don't come up and become an issue where, I have to be afraid that I'm going to have to shave my beard off. Boo-hoo. What's a millennial without his neck beard?
I mean, for me, it's just, I would actually have stayed high and tight on the hair like I usually do, except for the fact that I thought to myself that I've got one last good growth before I go gray. And they don't take your hair for any of the charities if you have any gray in it. So I've got one last chance to do it, so I'm going to do it.
Oh, wow.
I
didn't know they did
You're going
that.
to have to keep the stress at bay, my friend. Keep the stress at bay.
Meditation and CBD, and be well armed.
Right? Oh, Lord. See, and there it is. See, there. And that is your stress creeping in. The idea that you have to, be well armed. It's like, okay, there. Now you understand. You have your threat level meter going. That's
you don't need to be well armed. You should be well armed.
Yeah.
No, look. Let's be honest. In this day and age, it's almost a necessity. It is reaching those proportions where it's a necessity.
I think it has always been a necessity.
I mean, it's.
I mean, like people used to walk around with swords all the time on their hip, and then you would walk around with a gun.
But
and a sword, and then just a gun, and then just a gun.
Knife. I mean, most like a lot of the townspeople, they would carry a knife, but that was more for utility purposes. I mean, not everybody was walking around armed to the teeth because they were expecting to get killed at any moment.
No, you wouldn't walk around with like armor on and crap all the time, but
right.
You walk around with a little arming sword or something, or like a messer or something like that.
I mean,
I would walk around with armor on all the time.
Good luck, man. Oh my god.
But, I mean, I also have the Brotherhood of Steel logo in the back of my truck, so if I had some power armor, I would definitely be walking around in that every day, everywhere.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Now let me ask the two of you this, and this is kind of in reference to the randomness of what happened at the Capitol today. And I say random because we don't know exactly what motive, etc. Right? And more than likely won't know. Everything's going to wind up being speculation on this at this point, unless somebody knows something out there that hasn't spoken yet. But when you guys go out in public, do you find yourself more, less, or the same level of apprehensive about other people in public spaces now? And I'm not necessarily talking about the COVID thing. I'm just talking about as far as people in general. Where's your apprehension level?
I have no apprehension for people in public. But once again, I'm also well armed. And I take a lot of CBD.
Okay. Okay, well, if apprehension isn't the right word, then my point is, how much more are you seeing random people in public as a threat more so than in the past, or are you not? Like, this chaos factor that seems to be brewing in lots of places. I mean, I'm finding myself checking people out more when I go in places, watching.
See, I've always done that.
Well, yes, you always. Yeah. I understand that, but I find myself more like being more critical of behaviors I'm seeing, and that I don't know. It's hard to explain. Just that I'm like, okay, there's no telling if someone's, that person that randomly seems to be walking against the flow of, foot traffic or whatever the case may be, why do they look like they're in a hurry? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Because it's out of the norm. Like, those kind of things I'm like scrutinizing more now, because it's just, stupid shit's been happening around here in Orlando. It's been happening everywhere, and it just seems to be on the rise.
Well, I would understand your level of apprehension, though, too, because you're surrounded by Florida men and meth.
Right. Well, there's a ton. How much cabin fever is going on in this country right now?
Not in Florida. We're chill. Everyone's outside.
Yeah. Did I say Florida, or did I say in this country?
No. I'm saying, like, we're not, though. We're not.
Well, like, I mean,
wherever you're walking around,
in some ways, people are still feeling the oppression of the masks. Going into stores, this, that, and the other thing. I mean, there's still some of that going on here, not as widespread as it is in other parts of the country, in other states.
I've actually stopped bringing a mask with me completely. I don't even bring one with me anymore.
But yeah, no, I mean, there's, I mean, it's one of these things. I mean, it's not just happening in our country; it's happening around the world. I mean, and of course, they people keep trying to hit the refresh button. Apparently there's a spike in Florida cases again right now that we're presently in the middle of. I'm like, okay, so a lot of people are getting the vaccine and they're showing symptoms of the coronavirus. It's possible that you might see some, a spike in that, as it were.
Yeah, but it says a spike, but like if you look at the trend, it's all downwards. So like, yeah, sometimes it's going to spike a little bit, but it's going down. Trending downwards.
Fortunately, our governor said no and signed off today. Was it today he signed off on no?
Today, yeah.
You're not allowed to do it. So is he telling private businesses too? Is that what I'm understanding?
So I've read the actual executive order.
Uh-huh.
I've read the actual executive order, and it says that it's not stopping private businesses from doing it, but it is stopping any kind of government entity from issuing them.
Gotcha.
So effectively, you really can't. Like, there's no real way of a private business to enforce that.
Unless they self-enforce, they can refuse service.
Well, no, but I mean, like, how do you, if the government isn't issuing a vaccine passport, then how are you going to enforce that?
The same way they do a mask ordinance. Am I right? I mean,
no. How do you prove that you have the vaccine without the vaccine passport?
Right. That's what I'm saying.
The way that I would understand it would be like if the company, and it's usually going to be something that somebody who's huge in the world, like Disney. Let's use that as an example. Like Disney. Disney is probably going to have a vaccine passport no matter what. Right. No matter what DeSantis says.
Right.
They're going to have that out there.
They're going to have to.
Yeah.
Because they have international travelers.
Yeah, but
Sure,
you
but
catch that at the airport too. Keep that in mind.
Sure, but just
yeah.
because you can't, you take care of it at the airport doesn't mean things, this, that, and the other. I mean, Disney won't stand on that. They'll stand on it doesn't matter. Who knows how long you've been in
So
the country, even though you're international.
so they've been open for a while. I've actually
Hmm.
been not to Disney, but I've been to Universal Studios since the pandemic and everything started. Um, and they have all these like strict rules, like oh you gotta have your mask on at all times and stay away from people.
How
Mask on
did
at
you
all
go to
times unless you're
Universal?
sitting and eating.
Did you
What
just
do you
did
mean?
you just go and show up
I'm
there and get
guessing he grabbed an
tickets?
Uber and he went up there.
Well, no, I mean I went with my girlfriend and her sister,
But I mean, did you just go? Did you
but
have tickets pre-purchased, or did you go up there and buy tickets at Universal?
well, my girl and her sister had passes, and then they can get me in like guest passes and stuff. So I was able to get in for,
Okay, so
which is pretty
now
sweet.
Disney. The interesting thing about Disney is you have to reserve your place in the park. Right? They're putting limits on how many people can come
Mm.
into the park, and presently, most everything that they have available is booked up for 2-3 months in advance now.
Sucks to be them.
No, they're filled to
Because when I
capacity
went to Universal,
based
it was
off their
just
param.
fine. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
understand, but I'm surprised that Universal isn't being more
but
strict with the amount of international travelers they might get as well. But they don't want to be a Disney and be like totalitarian either, right?
I mean, Disney are Nazis anyway,
But Ed makes a
and I mean
good
that like literally, not just not
Ed,
metaphorically. I mean that literally.
but Ed makes a good point. I mean, it's someplace like Disney is going to enforce it, but still, I understand that there's not going to be a government entity that says you have to have a vaccine passport. But that doesn't necessarily mean it will stop a company from asking for those. They can still ask for them. As stupid as it may be, and they'll turn away a lot of business and they'll suffer for it, right? I get that, but they could still ask for them, and
and they
you,
will.
right?
Second.
So then you got to ask, okay, so who controls whether or not, like, say, a football venue does that or not? Is that the the local government has any say in that, or does the venue consider itself private and they're able to ask for vaccine passports for such a large gathering? Because that's one of the biggest concerns in Washington about the vaccine passport is these large gatherings and getting sports open back up so that money can start flowing in that economy again. I don't know, Ed. Are you a sport? How much of a sports fan are you? Do you? I mean,
I I'm not even going to cross that bridge until they get the woke shit back out of it. So
oh yeah. Have you kind of disavowed all sports?
anybody who's going to put woke shit on the fucking field, I have no time for. I spend all day looking over the news, looking over politics, all day fucking every day, and I work 24/7, practically. I don't need to have that when I'm watching fucking sports.
Yeah, I could understand that. It's a catch-22. It's like I mean, expressing your freedoms in whatever way, right? Like
Oh, actually,
that
hang
kind of
on.
thing. Just keep it out of the game. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
So, it does actually, like DeSantis himself did say, all businesses in Florida are prohibited from requiring patrons or customers to provide any documentation certifying COVID-19 vaccination or post-transmission recovery to gain access to, entry upon, or service from the business.
Did you say
So,
employees or customers?
wait, from requiring, patrons, no, patrons or customers. It doesn't say anything about employees.
Okay. So now let me ask you a question. Now, while Ed, I'll put this to you. John, you can chime in. Okay, so
Hmm.
in saying that, in declaring that businesses cannot do something like that, right?
Right.
Is that government stepping on the free market? Is that not like a little bit authoritarian on the other
So,
side?
so like I said on Wednesday's show, Technically, like yes, philosophically, yes, but I'm not mad at it, and I'm not gonna like complain about it. So, because it's actually doing what
Because
is,
it aligns with your thinking, right?
because it's gaining the most amount of people, the most amount of freedom possible, is what it is. So, I mean, it's
Ed,
kind
what
of
do you think?
taking, not really taking freedom, but go ahead.
I don't want the government to get involved with telling these companies they can't do X, Y, and Z. I never have. The problem, and this is, I'm going to be doing a dedicated mask video because Wisconsin just upended their mask mandate this past week. I'm going to be doing a dedicated solo video just talking about what's happening. And I might actually do a Saturday stream tomorrow and see what the audience has to say about that as well. But the thing with that is, I don't want the government involved, but I know also it is very hard of a catch-22 for me because I know that the federal government is going up to these private businesses and saying, here, your tax break. You just have to do what we tell you. Okay, oh, almost got it.
Are you upset about a tax break, Ed? Come on.
No, I'm upset about the private companies doing the government's bidding for them and going right around the fucking Constitution. That's what I'm upset about.
What better way to cement your control than to go along with the people that are supposedly in power at the moment? I mean, it's, why not? Why not follow dog step with the, goose step with the government? I, can I say that online?
Motherfucking goose step. I can say it.
I can say it too.
But no, I mean, when it's all said and done, I mean.
Oh shit, we're done.
But yeah, I don't know. It's one way or the other. It's regulating, right? I mean, it's a weird. I understand how you're looking at it, John. Whatever gives the most freedom to the most people.
I think it's regulating. It's regulating in the way that, like you're telling a business that they can't just like capture people off the street and hold them in the basement and sell them. Right? I mean, how dare you regulate us? No, that's not. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as like regulating the business, telling them, how they have to do business.
Well, I guess I would rather see governance than regulation, if that makes sense, right? I would rather he be able to say, we don't want businesses doing this in Florida, and businesses would comply.
Right.
Said there's no need for you to do this. It's not necessary. And there would be compliance. Instead, we have to put a regulation out. We have to sign a bill that says you can't do this. And that bothers me just as much as it would if he said you must do this.
Right.
And, that's, I think that's those open doors that we overlook whenever we're seeing this, if it falls in line with where you're thinking, where you're comfortable with, because it does accomplish what you can justify as a greater good, no pun intended, right? But that is what it accomplishes in your mind as from a freedom standpoint. I don't know. I don't know if that's...
Well, so this thing, it's not actively taking measures like against businesses. It's just saying like you can't restrict people. I've gotten the other side of the argument, but it's akin to saying you can't discriminate against someone for skin color, right, or for their race or their religion, right. Obviously, the difference is you don't choose your skin color, you don't choose your gender or whatever the hell, unless you're a certain kind of person, then you can choose your gender, but that's a whole different discussion.
We could have that discussion if you wanted to.
Right. But I mean, like you're not supposed to be able to discriminate against someone's religion. Well, that is a choice, right? So I think it still falls under the same thing.
Sure. Yeah, but you know me. You know how I am. Freedom of association should be able to stand on its own and be done by governance and
Sure.
not
If we wanted to actually
right,
have
not
that, then let's
enforcement.
have that. But let's not. No, no, no. Let's have full freedom of association. That's fine. But let's not just pick and choose which ones we
Right.
want and which ones we don't want. You don't get
Exactly.
to say, "Oh, well, I want to discriminate against you because you're not vaccinated, but I
Right.
can't discriminate against you for these other reasons." No, no, no. If we're gonna have freedom of association, let's have freedom of association, or not,
And then that becomes
whichever way we're gonna go with it.
a tough call. But the upside is we get to focus on all these little things. Like
Hey,
we
Quest
get to
Fanning
focus.
showed up. What's up, man?
How you doing tonight, Quest? But we get to focus on all these things that are happening here, like keeping up with that. The Capitol thing today. We've got everything going on with the Chauvin trial. God, I've been already seeing articles about people speculating the L.A. riots are going to look like a walk in the garden compared to what's going to happen if Chauvin goes free.
Well, and that's the
Like,
worst
know
part
exactly
of that
who
is
you're
you know
referring
that
to.
it's going to happen.
There's a
Yeah.
good chance there's going to be enough reasonable doubt. I'm sorry, but it's there, and no, nobody's going to respond. Not enough. I don't know. It's going to be sad because nobody's going to pay attention to the truth. Like they won't. They could sit and watch the fucking trial, and understand that there's going to be enough reasonable doubt created for 12 people that they won't be able to. I don't know. Maybe. Let's see, they got him second degree, third degree, and manslaughter. Is that correct? Manslaughter?
Yeah, man
Yeah.
too.
I believe. Now, don't quote me on this, but I'm thinking that they will try and at least make sure that man 2 sticks as some amount of appeasement.
Yeah, but that's not going to be good enough for those people either. You have to keep that in
No.
mind.
Well, is anything besides the death penalty going to be good enough for them ultimately?
Well,
I'm
they
sure
can't
if
do
they
death
buried
penalty in
him under the
Minnesota because
prison.
it's outlawed in Minnesota.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
If
they
they
just
can or
buried him in the
can't,
prison. That would be
they would
enough.
make the argument, why not bring back the death penalty for this guy, right? you know, so it's there's really few outcomes that would appease them, much short of a public execution, or at least a public stoning or something along those lines.
No, I could go for public stoning.
I mean,
Fucking CDL.
let's be honest.
Yeah, no.
A lot of misinformed or overinformed or overtuned people are out for blood on this one, and that's anything short of blood is not going to give them what they
Well,
want.
I've discussed this on my morning show too, and I'm pretty sure we're going to talk a lot about this on Monday night with Elaine. That's one of the problems that I have with this is I don't see the intent, but I see a lot of emotional arguments to try and get that tear jerk to the jury to make them ignore the fact that there is no intent. So murder 2 and murder 3 fly out the fucking window, and there's enough reasonable doubt to toss man 2 off of it too.
Well, I've been seeing that people on the side of the law have been saying that have pretty much been alluding to the fact that yeah, he did use excessive force. Yes, there were opportunities for him to stop using excessive force. So that I think from that standpoint, I think the jury might consider convicting him on the man too. I'm just saying that they might have enough justification to do that, and say even though there were extenuating circumstances with drugs, etc., he used excessive force, and that would preclude enough to give him the man too. If they're smart, some is better than nothing. I mean, I don't know. Does anybody think he does or does not deserve to, be indicted for, or serve time for killing of George Floyd? I mean, that's what it really comes down to.
I think that there was a charge there. Looking at the video, looking at the video that came out, this will be a discussion too that'd be interesting to have with Seawall if he was there too, because he is he's on the team of let's go execute Or he's on the not execute. He's on the team of Derek Chauvin did nothing wrong and just let him out, and there shouldn't even be a trial, and everything should be acquitted off of this one. Seawall is on that team. That'd be an interesting discussion to have for that, because I want to see where he sees. I thought there was a charge there when I first saw the original video. I thought there was a charge there, but I knew right off the bat, because especially with it being Keith fucking Ellison, of all people, that he was going to overcharge, and he was going to fuck himself by overcharging. He was going to fuck himself by overcharging. I would have looked at that, and I would have given a negligent manslaughter, probably man 3 or even man 4 at that point. Given the fact that he was given plenty of opportunity to do so, but man 2, it doesn't clear the bar.
Well, here's the thing. Here's
even criminal neglect, I think, would have gone on to that, but Keith Ellison overcharged because he was out for blood.
Well, let me. I would make this argument for that. As is apparent in the video, there were citizens watching. The public was watching, and talking to the officer, telling him, saying and pleading with him to take his knee off the guy. Okay, this is a civil servant. It's a police officer. It's a civil servant, and by not responding in any way, shape, or form in that way, that may have created intent in the eyes of some people.
There's not intent there. I'm sorry.
You don't think that intent to just, well, fuck you, I'm not taking my knee off? If you just if you take the asshole approach to it, if that's the angle they play.
That's the thing is, if you're trying to keep someone on the ground, taking your knee off is typically a bad idea.
Hang on just a sec.
All right.
Thanks, Ed.
Yeah, if you're trying to keep someone on the ground, worst thing you can do is take your knee off. It took 3, 4 of them, I think it was, to restrain him. I'm not completely on the cop's side at all. I'm not completely on their side at all.
I can agree with that.
What I'm saying is, I don't think someone would be like, take your knee off. You're going to be like, no. No, we're trying to keep him. We're trying to restrain this guy. I guess I'm taking my knee off.
I'm more thinking that the argument can be made that the amount of time that he continued to keep his knee there, holding him down, when there were other officers around, and it was obvious that he was subdued.
He wasn't, but the knee really shouldn't matter. The knee being on the back of the neck like that isn't going to stop you from breathing.
I get that.
It's not affecting. Right. It's not affecting your carotid artery. It's not affecting your windpipe. It hurts. Don't get me wrong. It's going to hurt like a motherfucker, but it's not going to stop you from breathing. In fact, if you can scream, "I can't breathe," you can breathe.
Well, look, I'm going to say this right now. What was happening to him at the moment? The man was having an anxiety attack. I swear to God, that's exactly what he sounded like when he was
dying from an overdose.
Well, he was having that going on as well, but yeah, he was having some extreme anxiety, and I've dealt with multiple people that have had anxiety / panic attacks, and one of the common things that they will say is, "I can't breathe right now. I can't breathe."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough to breathe. Right?
That was how he was saying it, in my opinion. I didn't think he was for any reason cut off.
Right, that might be the truth, but that also shows that Chauvin wasn't actually the one that was doing anything that would cause him to die.
Sure, I get that.
What that means.
But that's not to say
the Eat Street guy doesn't know what "leave at the door" means.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did they just throw it in through the window?
No, he called me.
Oh, gotcha.
Let's see what the chat's doing real quick. Seawall showed up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Quest said we need to
talking about him.
We need to push back against these pussies. Nice. There's love for Seawall. This is a bit intense. THE.
THE. I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Seawall says, under MPD procedure, police are required to restrain a suspect until paramedics take over.
Like I was saying.
So now there's my question. Was there a reason for paramedics to take over, right? What injury had he sustained that paramedics needed to take him, or were they responding to... They didn't know he had drugs in his system at the time, did they? Why were
I
I'm not sure.
believe they did. From the testimony that I've heard off of this, I believe they did know that he was drugged up to fuck.
okay?
Well, he was
And
certainly
that's
acting like it. If you saw the video of when he was in the store before he used the fraudulent 20, he was acting, erratically. For
now.
sure.
Is that? I mean, is it normal procedure for them? I don't know. For them to call paramedics if they're taking someone into custody that's high on drugs like that.
If someone's ODing,
If he's
yeah.
overdosing,
Oh,
especially
if he's
yeah.
overdosing.
Also, keep in mind that, and this actually, I think, does come back out of or kind of protects Chauvin from the intent argument, is because he knew the guy. And keep in mind, and the dude's girlfriend, what got up on the stand yesterday rather, I keep forgetting contemporary, it's a day late, but dude's girlfriend got up on the stand yesterday and pointed out the fact that this dude just overdosed, like 2 months prior to him passing away.
So then,
So he's got a history of ODing.
then that's saying that
Yeah.
that Chauvin had that the police on the scene, Chauvin included, had some idea that he was overdosing and had called
Probably,
paramedics.
possibly, yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. I
I think
that
actually
part's
protects
never
Chauvin right there.
that part I've never really been real understanding of, because I think I've heard Seawall mention that before about handing off to the paramedics, but I'm like, if they were arresting him for a counterfeit bill, why were they having paramedics show? Because I don't remember them saying anything about him being injured up to that point. But now that makes some sense.
Well, and have you ever seen the full video, the full body cam video? I have.
Oh yeah.
If you've never seen the full body cam video, see if it's still on Daily Mail, because that's where
Okay.
that was the only one that had it. It got leaked because it was the thing with the body cam video was it got shown to a select number of press reporters. They had to be by invite only, and you weren't allowed to bring a cell phone or anything else in to go and view the video. Somebody managed to watch it. I don't know if he was using Google Glass or what the fuck he was doing, but somebody actually managed to capture the full video cam, and you can tell he's looking back at a computer screen off of this. But catch that back off, record it, and release it back out. And it was to the Daily Mail newspaper, and you could tell the dude was fucked. I mean, he's in the car. He's saying he's claustrophobic. He is asking for heated seats, air conditioning. He asked to get put on the ground. The dude is fucked up. And yes, as Quest said, he's fucked up and a large guy.
Yeah.
That's the reason. That's part of the reason that I think that the intent goes away off that is because you don't know if you're going to let off of him, if he's just going to go on a wild fucking rampage with all these other people around him.
Well,
Right.
see, and
And I don't believe, once again, and I want to go back to that, I don't believe that what was done was right. And if we'd have gone for a lower charge, if Keith Ellison hadn't been doing this for political points and gone for a lower charge, then we actually might be having a completely different conversation. And Chauvin might see the inside of a jail cell. But he is overcharged. Yeah. That is the big problem with it. It's not what Chauvin did. It's not what Floyd did. It is the political overcharge that came out of this because it got played for politics, not necessarily for justice.
All right. So it just, we kind of got off on this. So one quick question about this, in speculation. If Chauvin testifies, I'm guessing they will try and get him on the stand in his own defense. But do you think they'll manage to try and get him to say in some way, shape, or form that he didn't need to use that level of force?
Well, yeah, if they get him to testify, but if I was his lawyer, I would say you stay as far away from that fucking stand as you can.
Right. Don't fucking get up there.
You
because
can't do anything that will help your case on that stand.
They will try and trip him up. What is it? Sewell says that the paramedics that is for excited delirium state, which Floyd was in. Police call for a rush. Get here right now for paramedics, and they were late. They called for paramedics when he started to freak out. And that's Fanning. Quest is right. I mean, I think this is the argument that the defense is going to try and make, and if they can find some way to get Chauvin on the stand, and get him to say that, that he was using, he feels, I don't know, twists his words to make it sound like he used too much force. I think that, that's what they've got to go with, is that's the only thing they really can go with to try and make any kind of manslaughter stick. But, what are can this go to a plea deal? Can they kill the jury trial and make it a plea deal if he decides?
No, once he's back in a jury trial,
They got to carry all the way through, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Quest says it's the time he took, and fuck Ellison.
I don't think that Ellison would have put a plea deal up there for that, and I don't think that the people of Minnesota would have, like the BLM protesters, I don't think they would have let him.
Yeah, Seawall agrees that Chauvin won't take the stand. He says a first-year defense lawyer wouldn't allow it.
A fucking public defender wouldn't let him take the stand.
Yeah. So it's but it's gonna be some crazy fucking shit if he walks. I'm just saying, a lot of people are gonna lose their mind because they didn't pay attention. Because they're not paying attention, not listening.
Yeah.
They're seeing, and they've got the volume turned off, so they don't have to
they've
hear
already
the
decided.
truth. Right, they've made a decision, and they don't want to.
Right.
And anything else, any of that truth shit that might come through, they don't want to hear that because it'll sway that opinion. But they'll watch it. They just won't listen.
Yeah.
But the larger point is that we have got all these wonderful distractions going on right now. And I think that we seriously need to consider if we're not about to be pulled into one, if not two, conflicts that look to be brewing, and that are going to start pulling us, demand our focus be pulled elsewhere in the world, and also start costing us a fuck ton of money.
I think it's more than you're saying.
Do what?
I think it's a lot more than what you're saying. You keep saying two. I think there's a few more than that.
Well, there are two hot situations going on right now, like that are actively hot. One is a brewing. Well, I'm not talking about, these aren't things that we're currently currently in. I mean, we're just kind of outside of them right now, waiting to get sucked into them. But it's with two big boys that. Well,
I bet you I can bring you up a third one.
Well, let's see. So the first one is Russia and Ukraine. Now this one's not.
Oh, come on, Robert! It's always with you. It's always Russia, Russia, Russia.
This is the least of the two, the least concerning of the two for me right now. Because now all this happening right now, like there's always been this conflict since 2014 with Russia and Ukraine after annexing Crimea, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But they're amassing troops on the Ukrainian border right now to the extent that the U.S. And European allies went to a high alert for imminent possible situation going on there where they are concerned that Russia might be about to step back up into a full wartime scenario on the Ukraine border. But they've been reportedly moving anywhere. The reports have said anywhere from 4,000 to 15,000 troops into that area, which Russia is just kind of putting it off. We're just moving. These are all exercises. But so that's got people, and it took that happening for Biden to actually talk to the Ukraine. Like, he has tried to distance himself from the Ukraine since he took office, like just not touching it, right? And now he's suddenly forced to have to, and so standing up and saying, well, we back the Ukraine, we're there for you to help if we'll keep an eye on the situation, we're going on alert, this kind of thing. So we're poised to get sucked into something if Russia decides that they want to move against Ukraine in any large mass.
Well, one of the hard parts of that, and I do have to wonder if that does have to do a little bit with the little back and forth feud that Uncle fucking Sniffendiddle and Vlad the Impaler had a couple weeks ago. Do you guys remember that? Or do I have to remind you?
Say that again now. A couple of weeks ago, what?
a couple weeks ago when Vlad the Impaler and Uncle fucking Sniffendiddle had had their little back and forth. I think that might have
Oh yeah.
Is that
Wasn't there like a debate me bro sort of thing going on?
pretty much.
was
So,
that on the Cancer
Yeah.
Network or something?
Which is pretty hilarious. Debate me, bro.
No, what happened was
Still 2014.
Uncle fucking Sniffendiddle went on. I believe he was on CNN. I would have to go and double check myself, but he was talking to the anchor, and the anchor came out and said, "Do you believe that Vladimir Putin is a killer?" And Biden, just in his ever intelligent glory, came out and said, "Yeah, I mean, I looked in his eyes and I saw nothing, man. I believe he's killed people. I believe he's a killer. He's a real bad man." And then, like, the next day, Vlad the Impaler gets up online and says, "Well, I would like to have debate with Biden, and we will. What do you say? We do it live, okay?"
Nice.
Come debate me on my YouTube channel, bro. That's
That's pretty much what it was too.
Yeah, I know. It's so funny. Oh my god.
And then he said, "Moose and squirrel."
Moose and squirrel. It's
Moose
I
and
can't do the
squirrel.
R. Yeah, I can't do the R right.
Right. Squirrel.
Moose and
Squirrel.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Yeah, whatever.
The
By
half
the way,
roll.
Robert,
Yeah.
Quest is actually asking if you have a Twitter or not. I didn't want to give that information out, whether or not you do. So it's up to you if you want to.
Oh well, this is
Do that or not.
this is our Twitter right here.
Yeah, the generational gap.
Right here on the
The
screen.
Gen Gap P is our collective Twitter. However, I'm the one that's on it most of the time. So
Oh,
if you want to,
I may have a profile on there in my personal life, but I don't really ever go on it.
he doesn't do political stuff on it really. But if you want to join our Discord, Quest, in the description, you can join our Discord. You can get a hold of Robert that way if you'd like to.
Why am I in trouble?
Yep.
Oh.
He's gonna come and kick your ass
Yeah.
because you're wearing that hat.
Right.
He hates that hat.
It's the hat. It's a
I don't
trigger.
know.
hat.
I don't understand how you can wear a stocking hat in fucking Florida.
Yeah, actually, because
It's actually chilly tonight.
it got down to 50 degrees. So for us, that
Yeah.
was a serious drop because it had been 90 degrees the day yesterday. It was 90 degrees. Today it's down in the 50s. It's like what Florida am I
What?
in?
90? It was nice all day. What are you talking? It was like 60 something all
Oh,
day.
yesterday, day
Beautiful.
before that, yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Day before
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah.
The cold moved in yesterday and got down to 50 last night and into today.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a big shift for this time of year in Florida. That's unusual. So yeah, I got
It'll
to.
drop like 30 degrees overnight. It's fucking
I mean,
ridiculous.
let's not forget. Let's not forget. My studio here, even though you see a brick wall there, is still just a little chunk of space in my garage.
Yeah.
I've seen what your studio is actually. That's,
It's
Oh, that's
literally
right.
a closet
Yeah.
that he built.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
This is a
closet.
utility room that I'm broadcasting from.
Yeah.
What is it, like 10 by 3?
It's like 10 by 8, 6, 8.
That's a tight 8. If that's 8.
Yeah, that is not.
It
eight.
might be 7 because I have almost 6 foot on my wingspan,
Yeah,
and
okay.
I cannot touch the 2 walls. So it's got to be at least 7. If I remember correctly, it's 8 from the measurements. But don't forget, there's 2x4 studs eating up some of that room, some of that space. So 7.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't mock me. At least it's something. I made something for myself to fucking have a
You
show
did.
from. God damn it.
You did.
So kiss my
We used
big.
to do it in the middle of the garage. We used to do the show in the middle of the garage on like a little like rickety ass table.
Right.
That had one microphone, one Yeti Blue, sitting right in the middle. Those were the days, man. Yeah.
Right.
Those were the days.
Yeah, I did this. So if you don't like it, you can kiss my big non-white ass.
Damn.
I'm not assigning
Also,
color.
Quest says your hat is kind of gay.
That's good.
uh,
That's good. This
And
is.
Seawall is saying it's a hat that only a fig can wear.
Hey, you know what? You know what?
And yeah, Quest, I will DM you on Twitter after the show. So yeah, because that would be awesome. We could use the help. Thank you. That would be cool as fuck.
Nothing wrong with a little hype
Yeah.
action going on.
I like
All
being
right.
hyped.
So now, so we've got that going on with Russia and Ukraine, but now China and Taiwan. This is the one that I'm really most concerned about, and not that I'm worried about what China can do to us. That's not the big concern. It's about an imminent situation that we could potentially get sucked into, and it's one I don't want to get sucked into because I don't want to get into a war involving Asian countries in that part of the world, that far from America. You know, these kind of things. So this has been building for over the last year.
This has been building for 2 decades.
Well, I understand that, but over the last year, the sorties that have been the military sorties that have been flown around Taiwan have increased over the last year significantly, and China has been making it very clear that they want to bring Taiwan back into the fold. But this most recent one at the end of this past month, with 20 planes flying in and into their airspace, one of the things that was interesting about it to me is that in those exercises they were doing with those planes, it was seen that they were also incorporating exercises to counter U.S. and Japanese interference with the other exercises that they were running. So they're running game plans, and they're running counter game plans to address any U.S. or Japanese incursion, because and we very quickly, just shortly ago, this last month, Biden jumped on board with Japanese dignitaries, and they had a conversation about this and reaffirmed our position
that just makes
with
me
them.
all kinds of nervous right then and there.
Reaffirmed our
Biden
position
jumped
with
in
them.
and had a conversation.
Right? They pulled together Japanese dignitaries very quickly for the first time in a long time, suddenly, and said, okay, we need to make sure that we're on the same page here, how we're going to respond, because China is getting antsy. And they've been building, militarily speaking. But these drills, these sorties they're running, it's very obvious to our military leaders are saying they're preparing for, all the scenarios, and they're deploying they've got 1,250 nuclear capable ballistic missiles, small ballistic missiles prepared, and they're putting those out compared to 0 that we have in the region, because these were missiles that between us and Russia we agreed to no longer have in our arsenal, and are only now talking about redeploying them into the arsenal, but that would take months to get them in place all the way over there in counter defense of these missiles the Chinese have.
I don't know that it would take months.
No, well, if we've got them stockpiled somewhere and made, that's one thing. But
I wouldn't put it past them.
producing them and getting them over there, it's not like we're China. I mean, we can't build it as fast as China can. I'm just saying.
China does make me nervous on the world stage too, because of what they have sitting out there, who they have for neighbors. That's a big one that makes me nervous. And I'll get into that one in just a bit, because I'm going to tell you about the third theater that could be up there in just a bit. But with China and their neighbors, they do make me nervous. And I know Seawall and I have gone back and forth over this numerous times.
Yeah.
But China is the ultimate Zerk rush, because they don't give a single flying fuck about their 1.2 billion people on their continent.
Right.
I don't know if Robert, are you familiar with StarCraft at all? You know what a Zerg rush is?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, they can just keep throwing cheap units out there as human shields until the defenses of us or anybody else that they want to conquer.
They can just bury you with their own bodies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much what's going to happen. Yeah.
And that's the argument I've always look. This is the mindset I've always had about China.
Yeah, but you were putting it as they're going to transplant their entire population over here. But that's not the case, though.
But that's the key. The key to it is okay. So remember, all of their citizens are required to serve no less than 2 years in the military. So every citizen there is trained. So you bring a war to them, I understand that we have a militia, yes, invasion here, et cetera, et cetera. But you bring a war to them, you've got a very large capable citizenry that's been trained by the military for at least 2 years, if they're of age. Anybody over the age of 18, through 24, between 18 and 24, you're expected to serve 2 years in their military.
I didn't know that was a thing, but it makes sense. That's pretty typical for that area, for that region.
Right. So when they report having, 2 point something million capable military people, comparatively, you were looking up the numbers the other night. Comparatively, that's some big numbers. But not to mention that they've been boosting their technology too, like the amount of ships that they have. Like currently, their fleet stands at like 350 combined ships compared to our 290. And our own military is saying we need to hurry and catch up because they will outpace us in most areas by 2049.
I just wanted to point out that I went to Google Chinese military, so I went to Chinese first, and first thing that popped up was Chinese near me.
Nice.
Like,
your computer
know
knows you so
food.
well.
Obviously,
Chinese
I know that means the
food.
but it sounded fucking racist, right? It's like, oh, where are the Chinese people near me? Let me make sure there's none. Like, it's just, I don't know, it sounded racist to me.
Chinese food. Can I help you?
Now,
I'm not actually a big fan of Chinese food. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I like it all right, but it's not my go-to.
I don't know, Ed. I mean, you're feeling much like I am. Am I correct that there's absolutely no way you want to get sucked into a war over Taiwan?
There we go.
Taiwan is not the one I'm nervous about. It's Hong Kong that really makes me edgy about this whole thing. Because yes, Taiwan is an ally, and yes, they're going to shake sabers at Taiwan. They've been doing that for 20 fucking years. They've actually actively made an incursion into Hong Kong at this point. And England feels this great need to go back and defend Hong Kong. They don't have the resources to do it.
Well, they said they were
and
going
if England
to.
goes in, guess where we go?
Well, England.
What
Hold
can
on.
do, hang on, because with the UK, all they need to do is bring the HMS Trident over into the Chinese, what is it called? The sea right there, China Sea, South China Sea, whatever it's called. Bring it right there along their coast. They're not gonna do shit. That's the UK's nuclear deterrent, the HMS Trident. As far as I know, last time I saw it, it was in Gibraltar. So it shouldn't be like a huge deal to get it over there.
And what prevents that from being blown up by China's own nuclear deterrent?
Because it's
they're
specifically
not
the
fucking
nuclear
stupid?
deterrent. Yeah, like it's designed to not be nuked and not allow other things to be nuked.
No, it's not
Like,
designed to
that's
not be
kind of-
nuked. It's just the fact that they know at that point that there is no Beijing if they nuke that.
Yeah, that too.
They know better. They're dumb. They're not suicidal.
I don't even think they're dumb.
They're
not
cruel.
dumb.
Let me rephrase that. They're cruel, but they're not suicidal.
For sure.
Now, see, this is the problem that we will always run into. Because, okay, and not to cast dispersion or any shade, but it's when you make those and when you throw those opinions out there that you justify the government going, you know what? These people are right. What the fuck can China do? Let's get involved. Right? No. We have no idea what China might be capable of. I think that we're sorely hoping that we have all the numbers right and we have all the understanding of what they're capable of to know that any kind of deterrent to that, because it's making Japan nervous and it's making other people in the area nervous that China is doing this, because they're looking pretty fucking rock solid in what they're showing they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they have been building towards things like this for a long time.
Okay.
And they have not made any secret that by 2049 they want to have the largest and most capable military force in the world in an effort to even surpass the United States militarily. And our own military says that in certain aspects they are outpacing us. I don't think we can sit and relax on, they're fucking China. That Zerg rush mentality is not stupid.
Mm.
You know what?
As much as our half-track loving friend likes to tell us that it is, that Zergros mentality is not stupid.
Right?
It is pretty stupid because yes, you can do a lot of damage for sure, but then what are you going to occupy with? Right?
What,
are you
Taiwan?
What
If their goal is
you can easily
Taiwan,
take over Taiwan.
right? That's
if
what
that's all their goal is, then fine. But then that gets destroyed and taken back, or they just get to keep Taiwan. I mean,
right. But where does that conflict
back in 95
escalate
and
to?
96? They did the same thing back in 95 and 96, where they splashed missiles off the coast of Taiwan. I was actually just reading about this. That's the only reason I know that. It's not like I just had that off the top. But they did the same thing back in 95 and 96, and they did some other shit over there. So they've done this in the past, and I'm not sure that they're gonna. I don't think that this is the time that they're gonna like make their move.
Then why would they
I guess
be?
it could be.
I mean, they're taking being threatening to a pretty high level.
Yeah, they did. Like I said, they did that in the past, though.
They're also and you know, there's some speculation that they're trying to wear down Taiwan's air defense and air alert systems by concept
making a good point
because oh, go ahead. What's he saying?
He's saying Zerg need to eat. China doesn't have enough food to feed them. I mean, I still think that they're going to be able to import their food. I think they'll still be able to import it.
Well, China.
I think you're going to find a lot of people who are already importing food to them aren't going to be like, no, we're not giving you any more food.
And they do share a border with Russia, too, who is also pissed off at us. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, how fast can China start building farms to supply a war effort, right?
Well, that's the problem is, like, they could, like, theoretically, they have enough arable land and enough people to work it that they could feed themselves. However, their policies don't allow for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's so funny, like I'm not going to say communism, but the Maoist principle that they use just don't allow for actual efficiency in farming and abundance. It doesn't allow for abundance.
But I guess using like, you know, doing it from a more industrial standpoint, would they not be better at it if it was that from that standpoint? I don't know.
In what way?
Well, I mean, industrial farming and just, what's the word? Sustainable farming are two different things, right? Like you just come in and you force grow shit from an industrial standpoint versus sustainable farming where you're taking care of the land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That sounds like some hippie stuff.
Yeah, sounds like some commie bullshit to me, son.
No, actually, we're talking about what the communists would actually be doing in China. You know how Rush used to say, "The chai comes."
Chai comes.
Now, it does, you know, I mean, the reason why I kind of say, you know, and I do see things like Quest says it does come down to efficacy. I'm not just biased. It's an engineering mindset. But that, you know, I mean, you know, when it's all said and done, you know, if the Chinese deploy 5 aircraft carriers and we deploy 1,
yeah, but
four of those can be
aircraft carriers.
Hold on, 4 of those.
Each one has like 5 shots that they can launch planes, and that's it.
Dude,
well, they can't land back on the aircraft carrier because they don't have the the right tension in the wires.
Hold on,
those things are gonna suck dicks.
Hold on, but think about it.
Uh-huh.
Only one of them has to be capable. The other 4 are great distraction. What the fuck do you think the Zerg mentality is all about? It's like distract, you know, it's like velociraptors. Distract with 2 in the front and the third one comes up behind and fucking cut your throat. Right? It's like they only have to have one good one. And that's the average you get from Chinese products.
let me tell you a story that my dad told me about the time that when he was in the Navy. He was off the coast in the Persian Gulf during the late '80s, early '90s, and they got shot at by a surface to surface missile. As it was coming in, they were getting calls from military intelligence telling them that it was first of all the last harpoon missile that was it Iraq? Yeah, the Iraqi military had. It was the last one. It was built from spare parts from like 3 or 4 other harpoon missiles, and they read off serial numbers to them. They read off like just every single thing they could possibly know about this missile as it was being fired at them, and how to distract it and get it away, fire the chaff off the side of the ship and all that. So and that was as it was coming at them. I mean, so if you're trying to see which aircraft carrier is functional and which one's not, I think that would be pretty simple to figure that out.
Well, I didn't mean fully non-functional. I meant,
Well, I
mean,
meant
they
like,
may not be
okay,
they may not be the
efficient,
strongest
effective.
and greatest aircraft carriers, but numbers
Well, they are
make a
made in
difference.
China.
Numbers can make a difference in these things, but I don't know. I'm just saying, they have probably got the capability to take Taiwan back if they want Taiwan back in the fold.
Probably.
Because they never released sovereignty of Taiwan in their eyes.
Right.
Right?
But if that's the case, though, what stopped them from doing it in the past?
I don't know. And to be honest with you, it's none of my fucking business. If that makes
But
sense.
this has been a problem for decades. So how come they have? Obviously,
Well,
something is stopping them
Okay.
from just doing it. So they've had the ability for a long time. Why haven't they
Probably.
just steamrolled in and done it?
Um, and I'm sure there's various reasons throughout the years that have been offered up. However, from the standpoint of a country that needs to get their own shit together, I'm like, is being allies with Japan and Taiwan enough to draw us into a conflict that could lead to a greater conflict? And I'm just going to put this out there that no matter what the time frame is since it happened or anything else, I'm never going to be comfortable getting in bed with Japan.
I'd be comfortable
Wow.
getting in bed with the Japanese, but that's a different story.
Right. Different story altogether, Ed. Thank you for the fine-tuning that point.
Right.
But
Make sure we're all on the same page,
from the standpoint of wartime, I'm not 100% on board with getting in bed with Japan because I do believe Japan will always do what's best for Japan, even if it means turning their back on an ally in a time of conflict.
That is an interesting point to bring up too, and I mean it's something else to keep in mind anywhere you go down into that region too, because you've got the big heavy Zerg rush of China breathing down the neck of the state formerly known as Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea.
But hang on. Okay. So what is your fear with Japan though? Like what?
Just
is,
the
what
fact
is
that
fear?
the fact that they'll look out in their own self-interest,
Right. It's
In what way?
self-interest.
Do you
that they'll
don't
turn
think
around
that
and fuck you to save themselves.
think they're gonna like side with China?
Oh no!
'Cause, like they're ancestral enemies.
No, no,
Like,
no, no,
they're-
no.
They hate
It's
each
not.
other more than
Is
like,
it? My thought
Puerto
is
Ricans
this:
and Dominicans. Like they hate each other more than that. Like it's it's pretty serious.
it's one of those. For me, it's one of those things. It's about who else might get involved with the conflict and where allegiances lie, right? And who has a better outcome for Japan as
China
things
does
change?
not. I can
Because
guarantee that.
because a conflict like this is going to suck in a lot of players if you're not careful, and especially with another conflict poised on a Russian border, and easily it's not terribly difficult to get Chinese troops to assist Russians on a Ukrainian border, and see Russian troops come down to assist on on any Chinese front or situation that's going on, because I could easily see those two getting in bed with each other if they had dual conflicts going on.
Oh yeah, China and Russia,
China and
absolutely.
Russia,
Right?
sure, but not
Okay,
Japan. That's
now,
what my point.
now,
My point is
now
not Japan.
hold on. Now, if the threat of the outcome of said conflict
Oh
has
God,
it could have a negative impact on Japan, it could cause Japan to change its allegiance in the situation and
Japan would be
side with the
enslaved.
safer outcome.
Japan would be
Japan.
enslaved by
Hold
China.
on, hold on, John. Let me see if I can
Okay.
take a crack at this, because Japan, in its geopolitical stature, is a wild card in that conflict. Because on self-interest, yes, it would benefit them because of proximity to at least hear China out and say, okay, is this going to be best for us off of this? However, Japan does also know, and I'm not even saying just if sleepy fucking Uncle Sniffendiddle is the president and is the one that has the nuclear codes, but Japan does know that this country here, well, just ask Nagasaki what happens when they step out of line.
Well, so and that was kind of that's not really my point. It's not even that. It's that we're so ingrained in Japanese culture as well.
Yeah.
Ever since we took over their military role, they absolutely love America, American culture, Americans. Like, they are huge fans of us. Like, just I'm talking about the people in general, right? So we have that, and we have the ancestral enemy of China, who they have both done horrific things to each other. Absolutely have.
Yeah, we are pretty in tight with the Japanese people because I mean we can thank Daniel-san for that.
Right.
Hey, I see Ron Helton has shown up over on Trovo. We started at 8:30 tonight, sir. 8:30.
Yes, sir.
7:30 Central.
Oh yes.
Well, we don't
What's
really
that?
care about that one. That's not really relevant time.
So
zone.
when it's all said and done, like we have an America that's distracted, and we have two major powers that are brewing potential conflicts. Now, look, it may just be posturing. I get it. The argument
It
can be
probably
made that
is.
it's just posturing, but it's some pretty in-depth posturing on China's part, if you ask me, for it to just be a show of strength, because it's very borderline provocation. I mean, they're just so close to provoking a situation.
Well, are you ready for me to throw the last
Now
wild card in
comes
there?
the real wild card. Go ahead, Ed.
The third theater, then Elaine and I had an extensive discussion about this one because nobody would have ever thought that this would have been a discussion after Trump, but there are some other things that are moving along in this, especially because the fat little fucker is out there saying, "We don't like you. Bring back Orange Man with hot wife." And I'm talking, of course, about North Korea.
Okay, so
I can't
now
agree with
there
you
we
there,
go.
but I'll hear you out. I'll hear you out, but I can't. I already gonna say I don't agree, but I'll listen to what you have to say.
So North Korea is having a couple of problems of their own, and I pulled up the article that I read a couple weeks ago from ABC News because with Malaysia being in the relationship that Malaysia is in with us, if I can remember correctly, there's something going on with Kim Jong-un's half-brother where he was executed in Malaysia, and now North Korea thinks that that's partially our fault. So this is from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Malaysia on Friday ordered all North Korean diplomats to leave the country within 48 hours, an escalation of the diplomatic spat over Malaysia's move to extradite a North Korean suspect to the United States on money laundering charges. The announcement came hours after North Korea said it was terminating diplomatic ties with Malaysia because it committed a super large hostile act. In subservience to the U.S. pressure, North Korea called the money laundering charges an absurd fabrication and a sheer plot orchestrated by the U.S. and warned Washington will pay a due price. It's the latest development in growing animosity between Washington and Pyongyang. The North Koreans ramps up pressure on the Biden administration over a nuclear standoff. Ties between North Korea and Malaysia have been virtually frozen since the slaying in 2017 of the estranged half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at Kuala Lumpur International Airport. So the spat between Malaysia and North Korea, plus that execution, means that they're really chilly to us as well. And now there's going to be another extradition to go along with this. So North Korea is looking like that might be the wild card. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong on my Asian geography, but they share a border with China. They share a communist
That
ideology
they
with
do.
China.
Mostly. Little they're a little less a little bit more jingoist than China is. But yeah, pretty similar. So a couple of notes. Um One, everything that bad happens in North Korea is blamed on the United States. That's just like part and parcel for being the news in North Korea.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't think that's really any different than normal. Um, Secondly, I think it's much more likely that if China goes to war with someone, they join in with China rather than going to war on their own.
Would they get
Because they just
involved
don't
if
have it.
China moved on Taiwan, do you think?
Probably
Absolutely.
not. Probably not something like that. They might support it, but I don't think they're going to provide troops or anything.
Wait. Ed, you said what?
Absolutely.
Okay, see, now, and that is what
Taiwan is
makes
a
them
U.S.
the
ally,
wild
keep in
card.
mind.
Yes, Taiwan's a U.S. ally. And we have spent, see, Biden had the opportunity to re-chill relationships with Taiwan after Trump instituted more communication with them. But instead, he reaffirmed Trump's position with Taiwan, with his own administration, and said that we stand behind Taiwan, and basically said, "Yeah, we support your sovereignty." Basically, put us on the tip as well there to be sucked into that one through ally support. But now North Korea, see, there's another one that again, that domino effect. So it's like, okay, well, who pops off first? Does China make good on these threats that it's making to Taiwan and start an incursion? Or does Russia ramp up situations in the Ukraine? And does North Korea take either one of those as a sign to get frisky themselves, as they've been threatening to do for years?
I don't know. It's especially with the
So,
region. Everybody's touching each other.
right, everyone's touching each other, but the thing is, you have to look at who is in the region, right? We're all over the region as well as China,
Hmm.
right? You're saying that you thought North Korea would give troops to go and help in Taiwan,
If
but what about
Taiwan wasn't
South
our
Korea?
ally and Joe Biden hadn't jumped up their sovereignty, as Robert said, I don't think North Korea would have gotten involved. But because Joe Biden decided he needed to get on his soapbox about that, I do think that it's prudent, at least, for Kim Yo Jong to go in and put her
What
fingers into
about
this.
what about South Korea? I think it's far more likely, especially with knowing North Korea and their goals and aspirations. Their one and only target would most likely be South Korea. And if they left their military and went and attacked U.S. backed Taiwan, I mean, them leaving their homeland virtually undefended with South Korea, with U.S. troops, like right there, miles from their capital. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, see, if they're making that kind of alliance, we go back to the Zerg Rush thing. Now, yes, China can just throw troops at Taiwan and
Yeah,
do that off of there, but I don't know that they've got the technology or the morale. But they would also, especially if North Korea is going to throw troops into Taiwan, I would not be surprised if Beijing throws a few human shields up in front of Pyongyang.
Right. Now, Seawall makes a good point. He says if North Korea were to pop off, China would likely not commit troops. Now, see that I would agree with. That I don't see North Korea starting some bullshit of the three situations. I don't see them starting anything. but I could see them piggybacking on someone else's aggression.
Hmm.
And so, when it's all said and done, you know, I mean, Alaska's just a stone throw from Russia. So, getting to America is not that hard for our enemies. Not to say full scale invasion, but to cause
Mm.
some damage.
I heard stories at the time that during the Cold War, the Alaskans and the Russians would stand there and give each other middle fingers.
Yeah, that's
Might as well.
right.
I've
Um,
never been able to confirm if that's true or not, but I've heard stories of it.
right. Uh, but no, I mean, it seems to me like you guys are just kind of discussing whether or not a country could do something as opposed to like their motivations. Why would
Well,
they do this, right? Like especially with North Korea, like why would they do anything when again their capital is right there, their South Korea is right there with U.S. troops in South Korea
right.
at the time, like would just miles from. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense that they would leave. They really can't, and they don't have the capability of doing anything. Like even Kim Jong Un's private plane is a total fucking piece of shit. Like even his like the thing that the richest guy in the country, the most powerful man in the country, flies in is a complete dump. Like I mean, it's not prudent for them to do anything. I really don't think that and they don't have the resources to provide China with anything. They can't
Sure.
give them food. They can't give their
And
own people food.
and I can agree with that. Of all the situations, like Russia, what's going on with Ukraine, there I'm only concerned because we've
Well, that
made the
let the
bed
EU
that
deal with that.
we're offering to lie in, right? It
Let
may
the
or may
EU deal
not,
with that. They want an army so bad that gives them that gives them an in. They
right?
can form an army
Well,
by doing that.
but ultimately, it's just we agreed to back a play up there, so that's one.
Wait, did I
But
say the UN or the EU?
China
EU is
has
what I meant.
China has plenty of reason to go ahead and just be extremely ballsy and to consider making this move because there's been American aggression towards them from a diplomatic standpoint with sanctions, etc. All the bullshit that went on with Huawei and all the the whole what was it intellectual property disputes that we had and sanctions involved with that and etc. tariffs and the whole nine yards. They've been pissed off about that. Trump, they even said it, had the audacity to speak to Taiwan in the very beginning when he became president. And that started this rhetoric there. Okay, it's time to bring Taiwan back in because somebody noticed them. Like it's like right. It's like it's that old adage that children are best seen and not heard. That's how they were. That's how Taiwan had been for decades. It's like just
Yeah.
let them do their thing because from a trade standpoint, they're beneficial. I'm sure that through some channel or not, China gets and receives goods, gives and receives goods with Taiwan in some way, shape, or form. But now it's like, okay, somebody talk to the children. It's time to paddle the children and put them in their room. And I could see them doing it, just because they're feeling ballsy. They, I don't know. It seems thoroughly legitimate that it's more than just threats.
Well, and a lot of this also comes down to the fact that I'm pretty sure, believe that they could push everybody around. I mean, what was his name? I can't even think of who the Secretary of Defense is right now, but we just talked about him. Is it Austin, I think is his name? Secretary of Defense Austin?
That sounds,
Lloyd Austin?
That sounds,
Came out and said, well, if North Korea pops up, we're ready to fight tonight. And China's Minister of Foreign Affairs stood in Anchorage and basically called Anthony Blinken a pussy on U.S. soil.
I mean, and these are
They
things
think
that
they can get away with it.
right, and these are things that are being said, whether it be from China, whether it be from Russia, whether it be from North Korea. Is any commentary on these things is, don't stick your fucking don't start any shit, right? You need to just keep your fucking nose out of this, America. I mean, in a sense, want some, get some, is is kind of the approach with it. And I'm like, okay, they're giving you the option to stay the fuck out of it. But, Japan is like, Japan is relying on us to be there alongside them because they're scared the shit of China right now. Because, I mean, how hard would it be for China to take Japan? I don't know. But they say
well, they've never been able to do it before, so I don't know.
So
Can't be that easy.
So ultimately, now, is this ultimately just the world testing Joe Biden, like they say is done to every new administration? Because Trump was very no more new wars, trying to keep his hands out of war. I mean, you got to say the man did that.
Quite a few times, which is pretty funny.
He was very insulting, right, to a certain extent, right, to a lot of fucking people.
I wouldn't say insult. Not okay. If we're talking about talking about North Korea and
pandering,
like China and stuff. Not pandering. No. He was very firm with them.
It was such a weird mixed message.
But we talked about this, though,
yeah,
Robert. We talked about this. When you talk about Asian politics, it is very much about respect. If it went well, you show the person respect.
Sure.
If it doesn't, you don't. If they don't show you respect, then you can't grovel to them.
Well, it was like
I said, that summit. Remember that summit when they insulted Pence, and Trump was like, "I'm calling it off." He had to do that. He couldn't continue with it.
I got you
at that point, right? And then guess what? It still happened.
I guess the pandering. I mean, I refer more to, Xi Jinping loves me, Kim Jong-un loves me, we're great friends, everything's fine.
Again, he has to say that shit, yeah.
Right, but no, you don't. I mean, honestly, I don't think Obama was like, I have
North Korea than any other president before him.
I don't think Obama would have sat around, or George Bush would have sat around and said, "Oh, I have great respect for Kim Jong-un."
Did they make good progress with North Korea? No. They made relations worse. Both of them did.
We wound up coming out of the Trump administration in the same place every other president has come out of their administration with North Korea, whether they made attempts or no attempts to get somewhere with North Korea. Because attempts have been made in the past. And it always winds up at the same point. Unknown.
Hang on, though. Because, because we stepped out of the negotiations with North Korea and South Korea. Like, we were involved with North Korea, South Korea, and their talks, and then we slowly kind of backed away from the table and let them continue. It's not the same as being in the same place. We just stopped sticking our nose in it for a minute.
Our relationship with North Korea is no better now than it was before.
Oh, because Joe Biden's weak. Yeah.
It was no better at the end of Trump's administration. If he had carried on for 4 more years, we would still be at the same point.
We just weren't talking about it.
Right, we've had lots of and that goes back to the distractions. Right?
We weren't talking about it, so we don't actually know where we're at with them, or we were at with them at the end of last year.
But they've been carrying on. They, doing their own thing. But that's the thing. We've been so distracted. How much is going on right now that is going to suck us into the global sphere? And I don't think we're at a place to be ready for that. Because what can happen if we have to gear up the war machine. God knows.
Well, that's one of the other wild cards. Like, there are a couple other wild cards that are going along with that as well. Keep in mind, we also have the Burma situation, or I'm sorry, Myanmar. That's something to keep an eye on as well. That's going to require our attention at some point in the near future. And I don't even know who's in the right and whose side the U.S. would take on that. But the other thing is, and I want to let you guys know, and neither one of the two of us believe in war, but Elaine and I both have a significant amount of stock in Raytheon right now. For a reason.
Naughty.
Why not go and invest on a sure winner? There's a Neoliv in office.
Now, Seawall makes a good point, which has been said that taking Taiwan would be one of the most difficult amphibious operations in history, if not the most difficult. Taiwan has had decades to prepare for that. Every landing spot is planned, and the defensive plans are dialed in. And I understand that. However, I will ask this question: with China's capability, because I'm still in awe of, granted, shitty products or not, those motherfuckers have figured out how to build shit quick. I mean, if you just raise the fucking place, if you just fucking destroy it from overhead, you just go in and rebuild the fucking thing in 3 months, and Taiwan's yours. You're ready to go. I mean, China is literally in a position that they could make a parking lot out of fucking Taiwan and rebuild it. So, I mean, do we?
So why haven't they done it yet?
Maybe they weren't ready to, John.
I think they're I think they're afraid of the U.S. Retaliation. Not
and
military retaliation necessarily. Not even a military retaliation.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be, right? I mean, they make most of our shit. They make most of our shit. They own quite a bit of our debt. If we just say, well, go fuck off, now they no longer have that debt, and they're not making our shit.
Right.
And yeah, they might make other people's shit, but
and what does that accomplish
the UK
for
or
them?
the EU in general, they lose all that manufacturing money.
Sure.
That's what the entire economy is built on making pieces of shit.
I get that. I get that.
That's what.
Yeah, we know you get that because you buy from Wish all the fucking time.
Yeah, exactly.
And they may take an economic punch from it. I get that. But imagine the United States without any Chinese products.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
No. Like
Wait,
suddenly all Chinese products are stopped. We don't have the replacements for that shit.
You don't know that.
That
what
are
about India?
Not from an
India?
not from a cost.
India?
Is
What
India
about
making most?
Vietnam?
Is India making those
Vietnam
kind of
does.
products for us?
Not yet. Vietnam does.
Okay.
So.
Turkey does.
Guess what else does?
Hold
Taiwan
on.
does.
From an economic
Taiwan makes a bunch of stuff too.
From an economic standpoint, losing Chinese products would only hasten the demise of the American economy because the cost of goods would skyrocket here in America.
Yeah, but the wages
No,
would
I don't
skyrocket
think so.
too because you need to start putting people to work to make this shit.
If we started making it, right? We got to
Yeah, that's
roll out
true.
a whole bunch of fucking factories. You know who we would need help from building those quickly? The Chinese. They could teach us how to build factories quickly, but I'm sorry. No, I guess they're not talking to us right now.
Disavow Quest comment.
Chris, I don't know what you're talking about. Look, it's.
Indians are very fine people, Quest. All right.
I understand. I understand that we see that as a gut punch to China to stop, buying their products. However, the gut punch that we get in return by suddenly glutting the market of all of that inexpensive goods that are everywhere in our marketplaces would be very, very damaging to our economy from the standpoint of inflation. And from this scramble to come up with new goods for somewhere else, where we would easily, if anybody who's smart would be like, we can hold America hostage on the cost of these goods now because they need to get them from us, not China. So, and our economy cannot stand that rapid influx of inflation. Because I can promise you, wages won't jump up fast enough to compare.
If you ask Democrats, we can withstand any amount of inflation.
We're just going to have
to keep inflating it.
We're just going to have to go
Inflate it
completely
more, it'll be
printed money. So
China,
there is a
yeah.
we have to. I think we have to look at the economic impact on both sides of that situation occurring.
Seawall's right though. China would suffer far more than the U.S. because we can get our shit from other places. China could never have a customer like us again, ever again.
Well,
It isn't going to happen. They're not going to have the same amount of
okay,
demand that we have.
I get it,
So they're
but
going to suffer way fucking more.
yes,
Is what I mean.
yes, and but we are as well because I'm telling you, if Ed, if you're India, and we come knocking on your door and say, hey, we were getting these cheap
Yeah.
knockoffs of products from China, can you make them instead? Sure, but it's going to cost you a little bit more than China was charging you.
No, Robert. They have these people called untouchables, right? Super low. They have a caste system, right? You're born into a certain caste. These lowly people, that's where they get. That's where they can work.
So we're going to support, for want of a
Support
better term,
labor
slavery.
in China already. We don't.
Yeah, what the hell?
We already do. What? Nothing's going to change.
No, we mask it behind things where we don't see it. But
Yeah.
we
Nike can still come over here
can't,
in the United States and act all woke, and then pay children to.
You're gonna just. But
That's
if we justify a caste system in India for the production of our goods, if we give it that much justification, then it's just a moment's step to get and justify it here.
Yeah, we already do that here. We're not born into a caste system, but we still have a caste system. We're about to have a vaccinated caste system. We're about to have a second-class citizen.
Those star-bellied sneeches.
Right?
Yep.
So then, all right. So let me see if I get this straight, John. You, from the global perspective, it's no big deal, right? We don't need to have our eye on the ball so much over there. No matter what our military is saying, no matter what we're seeing,
That's
the
not
rumbles.
really what I'm saying, though.
I mean, are you concerned about it?
No.
Okay, that's it. Ed, are you concerned about some of it?
I am terrified of it.
Gotcha. Because we will inevitably get sucked into these situations, right?
Well, see, the problem is that we don't have what you might call a strategist as the commander-in-chief of the army. So, for the most part, the underlings and the generals who love to go to war are going to be calling the fucking shots.
Yeah, but at least we know that they're not going to have the female generals for that, right? Those were for photo ops, right? The female generals aren't going to be part of it.
Wow.
So it'll be all the. I don't make the rules. I don't know.
And demonetized.
Wow, John.
I didn't say that should be the case. I'm just saying that is the case.
Duck your head down just a little lower so the fingers make good horns over your head. You evil man, you. There you are. All right. God, you're trying to get us kicked out. Look at how offended Ed is.
I know Ed is just he's screeching.
He's raging.
Right he is.
Look, you know what? And I have to say that I think
Seawall wants to spurg out about about China.
Oh, I've already had that discussion
voice
once.
chat afterwards. I don't know if I'm up for that, man.
Well, I know. Look,
plus, I'm mainly on Seawall's side anyway. So
look, I will just say this. I think that the 80s were a big disservice. In all the years after World War II have been a disservice to America as a whole, because we have gained a very large and long time held ego about who we are in the world.
Yeah.
And the chaos factor, those random wild card moments can lead to some pretty fucking insane shit in the present day. And I don't know that we are at a point in time where we are prepared to deal with a situation like that, nor the repercussions of a situation like that. I don't know. Am I wrong there? I mean, are we that capable? I think that we've overblown our idea of being a superpower in this world and what it means.
So I will say, I think our Navy is more than capable of pretty much anything. Army, not so much, but that's more of a occupational force than it is like an invasion force. Um, the Marines are pretty badass, but they're like, pretty standard infantry mostly. I don't know. I mean, our military is pretty awesome, just as long as we equip them properly, which we failed to do in the Iraq War and Afghanistan. Kind of failed to equip them well there, but as long as they're equipped well, yeah, they can do all kinds of badass shit.
All right. So now, if I were to, I'm going to propose something here, and it's edgy. But if he's prepared to, John, send Seawall the link to the call.
Oh my god.
Oh,
We only have like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Now,
this is gonna be
look,
all
you're going to
night
have
long
like
conversation.
you're going to have like 15 minutes, Seawall, and you can try and make your case for why this is all just batshit moon landing stuff coming from me.
But see, I already pretty much agree with you on that. I think I've made the case pretty well. But...
Your premise is
Yeah, that's why I had to
John.
bail you out in the gun control argument because you made your case
Well,
so
like,
well.
that was like 2 years ago.
I know.
Your premise is
I'm a
fragile.
little better at it now. Right?
Supposition that we're strong enough to deal with any of these things
That's not
is
supposition.
is secondary to getting sucked into these fucking
That's
wars
not even what I
in the
said,
first
though.
place.
That's not even. No. I was even saying we can defeat them non-militarily, and then you just kind of push that off to the
that
side.
part I disagree. I don't see because they're willing
Well,
to
you
take
didn't have any kind of good argument against
they're
it.
involving the military. I mean, that's where we're at. Is these things are going
Hello?
to. Hello, Mr.
Sewall.
Seaball. How you doing?
Howdy.
tonight?
So yeah, there are
Qual
certain,
728.
look, yeah, Seawall 728 as always.
Qual.
Sorry, no, Qual, that works too.
Qual.
I don't have my camera set up right now. Plus, no face mask at the
Well,
moment.
I prefer Qual over Quan any day.
Yeah,
so,
make sure you make sure you put your mask on, otherwise you can't be in the Zoom call. All
Right?
right, we don't want any viruses on our computers.
This is actually a HEPA filter here.
Yep, exactly. But yeah, look, Rob, the problem that that I would like to point out with you is you're saying, oh, those launch 5 carriers. It takes minimum 2 years to build a carrier, and China has one facility in all of China that can produce a carrier. The last time they tried to produce a carrier, the fucking thing sank and had to be towed back to shore. The carriers the Chinese are using are designs from the 70s and 80s. They are not modernized. They don't even
most
have,
of ours are as well.
Actually, no.
Those are
Our
older.
fleet, no, ours might be older, but they have been modernized and refit.
Yeah, they've been We
Also, not only
retrofitted,
that,
yeah.
but Chinese aircraft carriers have fewer aircraft, less capable aircraft. Their pilots have less than half of the hours that our pilots have in training per month. And the Chinese aircraft carriers do not use a catapult assist system to launch their aircraft. We have both steam on our older ones and electromagnetic on our newer ones, meaning we have heavier aircraft that are better armed, that can fly for longer, that can carry heavier ordnance, that are, in a sense, tougher, with better pilots. That means the Chinese aircraft carriers in the first weeks, unless they're hiding well close to the shore, will be sunk within weeks. And there goes China's air power over water. From there, the U.S. will slowly whittle away at the Chinese Air Force and Navy until China is back to their own ports. Then from there comes the next stage. Any general will do this. China will be blockaded. They will be cut off from food and fuel. Russia, even if Russia throws in with the Chinese whole hog, Russia doesn't have the food production to keep China alive. And not only that, there is not enough rail infrastructure to keep China fed. Within months, China will be starved out and seeing peasant revolts all over the nation. Very likely there'll be a military coup backed by the CIA that will
Yeah.
cause a civil war within the Chinese military. So you're talking about Zerg Rush. We co-opt their Zerg Rush against them.
Okay, so then why do we have members of our military saying that this is a significant threat, and the path that China is on right now is a very significant threat?
Have you checked what their portfolios contain and which companies they're planning to work for after? they're done with the military.
That's a decent point.
Is it something that might also be in my portfolio right now?
Yes, a lot of these guys that are saying this, they are armchair quarterback military guys that weren't even involved in a lot of military action. While China is a threat, and there are things we need to do, because the thing is, the war I'm talking about is a war that will probably end up with probably 20 to 30% of all Chinese citizens dead by the end of it. It is a Pyrrhic victory. The cost to humanity will be unfathomable. The U.S. military will probably lose a couple carriers, which is thousands of troops. We'll lose ships. We don't need to ground invade China. We just need to get them to tap out.
Okay, so the U.S. Navy, is one of the bell ringers on this. John Aquilino, he's an admiral in the U.S. Navy, but he said that invading Taiwan is China's top priority right now.
Yeah,
does China
North Korea's top priority is invading South Korea. When was the last time a North Korean soldier ran across the border to shoot South Koreans?
Okay, so
take it over.
Okay, my question though is this: Are you saying that China doesn't have the intelligence like we do to know that they're outclassed in this, and it would be a futile effort?
It's two things, and this is it. There is a group within China that are what I would dub the old guard, the ones that have existed for a long time in the system.
Are you talking the PLA?
Yeah, guys in the PLA, guys in their various other departments, guys that have been around since probably the 80s. They kind of started their careers in the 80s, and they've worked their way up. And these guys are looking at this and going, we fucking do this. We're dead as a country. And what they've been doing for years is they've been offshoring their assets. You notice how a lot of rich Chinese guys, they're not buying shit in China. They're buying shit in Canada, the U.S.
Here.
They're buying stuff outside of China, meaning a lot of China's wealth, when shit pops off, gone from China. Those people are going to defect to whatever nation will take them. And you don't think that some of those guys aren't going to come with some juicy intel in exchange for, equivalent of house arrest in a luxury penthouse in New York City? China and the other group is a bunch of hardline zealots that got there through nepotism. So it's basically a combination of guys that aren't loyal to China, that are just going along to get along, and a bunch of zealots that got there through nepotism because daddy is in the government.
So
that don't know what they're doing and think they could win because they think China's invincible.
So then you agree that provocation is a distinct possibility when it comes to Taiwan.
and we have to hope that the old guard are the ones that win out in the end, because what will happen is there will be saber rattling, but what they will do is they will say, no, if we do this will hurt the Chinese citizen and destroy Mao's image of China. They will basically use patriotism to back off by saying that if we do this, we will, our people will suffer, we will die, and we will no longer be China, and try to then refocus on their fundamental economic problems. People say China's the bubble that never bursts. No, China's the bubble that keeps getting patched, and they're running out of patching material.
Look, I wish I could buy into that. It's just I can't get past the chaos factor.
And the thing is also, you're worried about Japan basically, swapping sides. Fun fact, Japan doesn't even acknowledge what was the rape of Nanking. They don't even acknowledge it. That's how much they hate the Chinese. They will never side with the Chinese. They would rather be probably nuked by the Chinese into extinction than bow to China.
Yeah.
The one we need to worry about is potentially Russia supplanting the U.S. with Japan, but that's a very hard sell.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and also not only that, but the thing is with Putin, people don't realize what Putin's doing. He's not an evil genius trying to take over the world. Putin is just trying to bring back the old imperial Russian borders.
Right.
That's his ambition. So I think long term, if the U.S. and China pop off, which is more than likely than Russia and the U.S., because the thing is, Russia and the U.S. we may shake our fists at each other, but Russia knows it would be even if they won, it'd be a Pyrrhic victory. The damage to their own nation would be
Right, like-
so severe that it would they might as well have lost the war. So it's
like,
basically
what do they have to
saber rattling.
Right.
At best, yeah.
They have nothing to
What
gain with war
probably
with
will
us.
happen with the Ukraine is there's going to be saber rattling. There's going to be a little bit of fighting, a little bit of skirmishes, and then part of Ukraine's going to go to Russia because they're going to fake a poll or something. Because those areas have been in revolt with their Ukraine for years. They're predominantly Russian. And they want to go to Russia. I think long term there will be some saber rattling, and then there's going to be basically a messy divorce is what I would call it. Then Russia, goes back to being quiet for another 10 to 15 years before it tries to make a claim on some other Russian majority region of the former Eastern Bloc.
So I get so if we get involved in either one of these scenarios,
If we get involved in either one of the scenarios, the other one does not pop off.
Well, but if we do get involved with it, is that not? Do they not achieve a greater goal of just adding more destabilization to this country because we got involved in another war?
No, because then we have a unifying external threat. You wake the giant. People forget the U.S. It might not have been on the verge of civil war in the 1930s, but there were hard right groups that were fighting in the streets with communists in the 1930s. There were labor disputes that were put down by military arm. There were massacres by the U.S. military of coal miners in the 30s. And what stopped all of that? The Japanese bombing our ships in Pearl Harbor. An external enemy.
Right.
External enemies are one of the greatest ways to unify a nation.
Well, yes, there was an external enemy, but they hit our territory. They hit America. These are not situations that are hitting America. These are
They'll find a way. They will find a way. You forget what started the Vietnam War.
Well, I don't want to have any justification for getting involved in either one of them because I do see that as a destabilizing situation for this country to get involved in another foreign war, and already in the situations that we're in, and it's going to be an excuse.
This isn't a fourth generational war. This will be a second or third generational war.
But
this is a traditional war.
Sure, but
very different than what we've dealt with in the past.
What always comes with war? More authoritarianism from the government.
Oh yeah, and that's unfortunate.
Well, Seawall's for authoritarianism, so it's fine.
Partially,
right? So
You're not gonna get him with that.
I mean, for those liberty-minded,
probably we'll get a Caesar out of all of it.
For those liberty-minded folks on the call, there might be the thought that maybe war is not such a good idea.
I hate to admit it, but because of the actions of the left in the U.S., we have lost all possibilities of having a liberty outcome with the current political paradigm.
In other words, it's inevitable, like I said.
Authoritarianism is inevitable.
No one's saying it's not. I'm just saying I'm never gonna advocate for it. I'm never gonna accept it.
Well, here's the problem.
It's not gonna happen. Of course.
Well, here's the problem. You're gonna be forced to pick a side, or you're going to be taken off the board. Yeah.
Picked a side.
The way you can tell, in my opinion, as to where a person is in just accepting the inevitable of where things go, is the size of the bags under their eyes, because that's typically where the baggage from it just goes to. It's just
look, my methodology is with this. More authoritarianism is coming. The best option we have is to try to get a hand on the wheel so we can at least have some control to try to guide it to a better path.
Right.
By just saying, I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill, instead of saying, you know what? It's the reason why I'm a Republican and not, an independent. Because I want a hand on the wheel. I want to be able to have some say in who will represent me from the Republicans. If I take my hand off the wheel and go independent, I don't get to choose. which I don't get to choose in my state. Which I believe Texas is a closed poll state when it comes to closed ballot state when it comes to selecting in primaries.
Yeah.
I made a choice. I would rather be part of this group to try to have some influence than to not be part of the group and have none. And potentially, if you start entering authoritarian territory, if you're not part of the group, you better not start speaking up, because then you will be the enemy in the eyes of that group.
Right? Yeah.
This is basic history. Unfortunately, history is repeating itself again. U.S. is probably going to, if we're lucky, U.S. will go Roman Empire. If we're not lucky, we're going 1940s Germany.
Why does it always seem like we're in an era where there's some way for people to, Americans to be enemies of the state in some way, shape, or form, right? It's just like... Oh,
that's always been the case, even with our
right?
founders.
Right?
The Logan Act, for God's sake. You remember that little chestnut they tried to use on Trump and some of his people?
Right.
Our own founders are hypocrites, unfortunately.
Right. Well, listen, I appreciate you coming on here and schooling us a little bit. Now, I don't buy all your bullshit. I think you're I think you're filming a guy with a flag on a white chalky floor somewhere, but
and apparently an X-Men lunchbox.
Right. But you know, I think the important takeaway here is we need to not take our eye off this ball.
No,
because of the distractions that are going on right here.
Unfortunately, I'm predicting that there is going to be a military failure if we go to war with China. There will be a military failure. We're going to lose a lot of people, and I think that would be it. My theory is that failure will be justification for the hard right within the military to push back and basically push America into being tradcons. Because it's going to be basically, look at what all of this namby-pamby liberal shit did. We lost 2 aircraft carriers inside of a week because, you know, these officers at the top were there as, you know, diversity hires. And then suddenly you'll see resegregation in the military. You'll see the president pretty much pushed out of the way, and there'll be a general that'll suddenly be the supreme commander, whoever the supreme commander is. He'll be the one talking to the American people. Biden will just be this saying, I stand with this man, and he'll just be an afterthought.
Come on, man.
He already does that.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what he does.
And Kamala,
now.
she's going to go along to get along because she knows that she is a diversity hire, and they will find, and that general, if they're popular enough, will find a way to get her to resign. Or maybe that general has some friends in the CIA, and we might have a JFK.
Well, I will say that, you know, in the situation, you know, when it comes down to a decision to get involved in a war like that, the hope is...
Unfortunately, we have no choice.
Well,
because if China starts taking more of the South China Sea, they're going to start expanding into the southeast. And they're going to control the trade lanes, which we cannot stand.
I understand that.
They'll abuse those trade lanes.
I understand that, you know, that there are reasons why someone would say we need to get involved. However, the hope is that it still has to go before a vote, before we declare, you know, any involvement in a war.
Likely, what will happen is China will probably pull the same thing the Japanese try to do. They're going to target something, thinking that they can kick us out of the war quickly, and that's going to be the igniting incident. You'll probably have Congress completely on board and actually vote to declare war after China declares war on us.
Yeah, that's
China's entire plan to try to win this is they're trying to probably trigger the U.S. into a total economic failure and balkanization, because then China does not have the power to replace the U.S. They do not have the ships, they do not have the power, they do not have the knowledge to pull off what the U.S. does.
Not as of yet, right?
And also, if the U.S. goes down that path, China economically crashes. So they basically, if the U.S. goes down, we take the world with us, is basically what's going on. The world can live without China. The world cannot live without the U.S. We are the center of finance. We are the money that backs everyone else's currency. The petrodollar, that's the U.S. dollar. So if the U.S. were to suddenly go down and the U.S. dollar to basically worth zero, the pound sterling's worthless. The euro's worthless.
So
the yen is worthless. Everything collapses.
So ultimately, though, the military is fine then with military officials putting out there that it is a threat and it is a concern and we should be
Well,
worried
yeah,
about it,
because that
even
means
if
they
we're
get more
not.
budget.
Got it. All right.
Because, okay, since when has a government official not raised an alarm and then asked for more money
I can
behind the
understand
closed
that.
door?
I can understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I,
So,
you
so
know,
do social workers say, "Hey, everything's going a-okay. We our budget's fine," or they go, "No, we're having a crisis right now. These kids are failing in schools." You need to be more cynical of these guys, Rob.
I am
Stop
cynical.
follow-
I see us going to war and getting involved in some shit we don't need to be involved in. That's going to lead to some bigger shit we don't need to be involved in. I mean,
Well,
am
the
I
problem
wrong there,
is-
Ed? Ed, back me up here. Am I wrong here?
I don't know, man.
We didn't need to get involved in World War II. The U.S. could have simply not embargoed Japan, and we could have let Hitler run across Europe and the Japanese exterminate the Chinese. We could have let that happen. We had that power.
I just want to point out that it is 10:30 now.
Yeah,
Yep.
whatever.
Sorry about that.
You know,
No, you're fine, man.
John, we're at DEFCON 5, 4, 3. What's the worst one? 1. DEFCON 1?
One is the
No.
worst one. No, that means there's
Well,
actual war. We don't have.
DEFCON 1 is nukes flying in the air.
Yeah.
No, if nothing else, this is perfectly staging the next Cold War.
I think you can technically call it already a Cold War.
yeah,
wanted to.
for the most part.
You can at least make the argument for it, for sure.
But yeah, thanks for coming on here and talking about it, Seawall. Obviously, these guys are, they want the authoritarianism. They want all the shit that comes with it. They're good with it. So, and
Fair
so are
enough.
you. And I'm like, fuck you guys. I don't want any of this.
I just want my Raytheon stock to go up, and
Right.
Yeah, all right, Tony Stark.
We
You
just
want to
like the stock,
capitalize
though.
off the war.
it's not that I want to capitalize off it. It's just why not? Like I said before, why not pick a sure winner?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
My
cold.
money's
stock's gonna
my
go
money's
up.
more on Boeing, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin.
Yeah.
Basically,
Those are good
R
ones.
and D.
Just so you'll know, Ed, that's you selling out to the inevitable. That's where the bags will really take a foothold. All right, so Ed, real quick, tell folks what you got coming up. Plug yourself.
Plug myself. That sounds dirtier than I thought it should.
Yeah.
So my name is Jay Edgar. I am the host of Contemporary and one half of the Red Ned Show. Contemporary, Monday through Friday mornings at 7:45 Central Time. And the Red Ned Show, 5:30 Central Time every Monday night, where we sit back and discuss the news of the week. And we got a doozy coming up, definitely. Between the trial and what happened today, it's going to be a definite interesting conversation. So definitely come back and check us out. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/JEdgar101, or you can find me on Twitter. That's at EdsBlog Twitter, with a 1 in place of the I. And hey, make sure you guys are there hanging out with us on April 17th, where we will spend 24 hours together to raise money and awareness for suicide prevention. I'm definitely looking forward to that. All the great interviews, everything else that's going to come off of this, that's going to be a hell of a show, and I'm very excited for everything else that's going to come out of this. I'm so happy for the way this is turning out. That's even before it happens. I'm so happy for the way this is turning out. So I hope to see you guys there, and we will be revealing the brand new freedomscoop.com on that day as well. So
Shut the front door.
we've been under construction for a couple months, but we will have a brand new website for you guys on April
Oh, yeah.
17th.
Shaking off the dust.
Yep.
Nice.
Badass. Hell yeah.
Seawall, did you want to let folks know where they can find you?
Can they find you?
I exist on the Discords as a specter floating between chat rooms.
Yeah.
Also, I may be crashing my half track straight through the wall into J. Edgar's stream for the 24-hour thing.
Yeah, you're going to be doing
Nice.
a lot of my production that day too. So
Ooh.
thank you very much for all the help that you've
Ooh.
offered for that.
I'll be providing you
Damn.
some technical assistance, but I won't be running the stream
Cool.
myself.
Cool.
Oh,
Because I'm-
tactical.
because I do get this mythical thing called sleep sometimes.
No, that's boring.
Sounds boring. Yeah.
Really boring. You got to commit to the 24
Sounds very
hours.
unproductive.
But
as well.
I would leave my bed alone, and my bed doesn't like being alone.
I guess, yeah.
I won't say that the 24 hours isn't draining.
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah, I've got this feeling I'm not going to be upright at all on Sunday.
you may want to take a nap after. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
You
Short
might want
nap,
to take
maybe.
a nap.
No. I'm gonna send him, a big old EpiPen. He can just jam it into his neck right at the end of it, keep him going for a little longer. Though it might
go.
give you a George Floyd style heart attack.
Oh,
As long as he makes it through the whole 24 hours, that's all that matters, right?
Right?
Ed's willing to sacrifice himself.
That's all that's important.
yeah.
So,
given the theme of the charity that we're doing, maybe we shouldn't go with sacrifice oneself. That might be in bad taste.
I have already overlooked a very key joke. Both times you've talked about doing this, I'm like, nope, I'm not going to say it. Nope, not going to say it. Bite my tongue. But I'm good that way.
Man, Ed's just killed himself to do this.
Right.
do this
Shut up,
podcast,
John.
man.
No.
Oh my god.
John,
Sorry.
before you thoroughly offend everybody out there, could you tell these nice folks where they can find us?
I sure can. I just couldn't help it. It was too perfect. Yes, I can tell everyone where they can find us. In our description, we have all of our links to all of our stuff. We have our Twitter at the GenGapP. We got our Discord server, which is a lot of fun. There's a few cool people, some of which are here. Not these two, but the other two people who are there. We have a Gilded server, so if you like us or if you like the other Freedom Scoop guys, you can go over there and hang out with them. And then we got a Subscribe Star. Subscribe Stars, so if you like us and you want to give us some money, it's a good way to do it. You also get different tiers with different perks depending on how much you like us or how much which tiers or which perks you want. And so make sure you pick the one you like and take advantage of that. That's all we have for now until the Freedom Scoop website comes back, which is going to be a good time, I hear.
Yeah.
Sweet. Hey, thanks everybody for being in the chat. Quest, Ron Helton, Seawall, who joined us in here, and Ed, who showed up at the last minute, but kind of by invite, but at the last minute. I didn't think you wanted to be here, or he doesn't take us seriously. He doesn't. He thinks we're silly, I think.
Hey, I'm just here for the hot mic moment after you turn the stream off.
You know what?
Well, Rob, I don't think you're silly, but your co-host here. I mean, I've got a picture of him staring at some traps, so.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But we're going to get the hell out of here for the night. Thanks everyone for showing up and adding to the conversation. Just remember, don't take your eyes off all the balls. It's a juggling around going on
Keep
here.
your eyes on the balls and your
Right.
hands.
We will be
Not
coming.
too tight.
We'll be trying to come back at you on Monday night for an episode of Fill in the Gap. Try and bring a little humor to the start of your week. That will be at 9:30 p.m. We are also here on Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. for a wonderful episode of Shooting the Shit. Lord knows there'll probably be something to talk about. Then, of course, we'll be back a week from now on Friday as well for our regular episode at 8:30 p.m. All of those times are Eastern time zone, the one and only true time zone. The rest of you posers know who you are. We're going to get the hell out of here. Having a good night. And please watch out for each other. But watch out for yourself, most and foremost. And after that, peace out, everyone. See ya.
See y'all.
There you go.
That's right.
The war will begin.